I'm Steph Weir, and I work with the Nature Conservancy, and I'm also a co-founder of the Ocean Sewage Alliance. And I thought it would be fun for us to talk to Chris Clapp, who's our new executive director, and learn a little bit more about Chris and what what he thinks what's exciting about the Ocean Sewage Alliance, and what is ahead for us. I wanted to start by giving just a little bit of background if you're not familiar with our work. Our mission is to re-potty train the world. That's the first joke, I guess. But it's actually quite serious. We're a diverse collective of really committed organizations and individuals and scientists that are committed to reducing the threat of sewage and other types of wastewater pollution on the oceans for the benefit of both nature, oceans, and people, and increasing the well-being of people. So we have just launched a year ago. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which is really exciting for us. And we now have an executive director, Chris, and we're really excited to have you, Chris. So I just want to launch into a few questions and get a chance to hear from you. So as the very first executive director of Ocean Sewage Alliance, what are you most excited about in your role, and what prompted you to jump ship after working at Nature Conservancy for the last 18 years to start anew at a new organization?
Wow, there's a bunch of questions embedded in there and a whole bunch of, yeah. So, I think what's really exciting is the opportunity to share with the entire world a lot of what we've learned the hard way here locally. And where I say here, I mean, I live on Eastern Long Island in New York State in the US. And so to be able to take where we came from about a decade ago and how we got to where we are now could really help a lot of other places who recognize the challenge ahead but don't quite know where to go next, and accelerate that pace of change for them at a much larger scale. So that to me is really exciting, that we have this opportunity to network with so many great partners to achieve things at a much greater scale. So that to me is exciting. As for, why I would leave, one of the greatest gigs around after such a long time, it was a really difficult decision. The Nature Conservancy treated me really well. They allowed me to adapt my professional career to what the challenge was at the time, and to evolve to the point of where I am today. But now it's just time to take those lessons and share them with the rest of the world. So I think, while it was, kind of a painful, difficult decision, it was ultimately time to be able to do something bigger and broader.
Yeah, clearly we've got some exciting things going on that compelled you to jump ship. The Nature Conservancy is a partner of the Ocean Sewage Alliance, but we have 24 other partners right now, different organizations, and then we have a handful, maybe 10 to 12 academic researchers that from different universities that are also partnering with us. We're really focused on building an evidence base around this threat and understanding it better. As a marine scientist by training, I've had my own personal journey with this, being a marine scientist by training, but in 90 seconds, can you tell us how you went from shellfish conservation and ocean conservation to septic installation in your work?
I'm going to go back inside because it's raining on me once again. I thought we were done with this.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a natural fit, a natural move. And what I think was the most compelling thing was that there was just too much data to keep trying to do restoration practices of shellfish, salt marshes, seagrasses. There was just too much data beginning to mount all at once to continue the business as usual research and restoration practices without doing something about the source of the problem. And for us, that data from watershed analyses to isotope fractionations within the blades of seagrasses, all was convening upon one thing. And I went to look for solutions to that problem. And our whole team basically gravitated towards, this is what we have to do if we want to protect these resources forever. We
Yeah,
didn't have a choice.
it's exactly. It's not the typical business of conservation organizations to necessarily get involved in questions around sanitation, but it's that's changing because it affects our work, right? Um, at OSA, we are really nerds about sharing what is happening in our oceans, and when it comes to pollution, we're just, sponges soaking it up, so to speak. And we're always learning new things. What is the most surprising thing that you've learned about ocean sewage pollution?
Well, I think the most it's both exciting, right? So, the only way you don't go crazy doing this sort of work is to view every challenge as an opportunity, right? And what I find is amazing and inspiring all the time that I keep learning is the interconnectedness of our water and throughout its entire water cycle and all of the structures put in place to manage water at different levels. But it really, and then the interconnectedness to that, to the economy, to climate change, to the real end goal of protecting the oceans, which are the majority of our planet, is it just the web just keeps getting more and more tangled the deeper you dive into it, and there's always another layer of the onion to be peeled back and learn. And so the learning isn't over, and I'm shocked and amazed at what we learn every day.
Yeah, you're really pointing to some of the intersectionality around this threat on oceans. It's not one that's really been very appreciated or paid attention to in the last, in our history of doing ocean conservation. Equity is a really big piece of that too, looking at gender equity, environmental justice issues. The threat of this type of pollution touches down more often than not in marginalized communities, impoverished communities.
Yeah.
And so there's this huge human element of this threat. We began this work thinking about the oceans, and it's become very clear how much about people this work is. So I think it's just we can keep peeling back the layers, as you say. What do you think, you've said it's intersectional and it touches down in so many ways. Where do you see opportunities to collaborate with sectors that are working towards complementary goals?
Well, so there's amazing opportunities in the drinking water sector, water reuse, conservation. There's amazing opportunities in the renewable energy and other renewable resources. So there's so much in our waste stream that has great value to people, whether it's the opportunity to irrigate fields with, not having to irrigate with treated water that's meant for drinking, right? Saving that portion of the drinking water, or reclaiming the nutrients in that waste stream and not having to import chemical-based and petroleum-based fertilizers and the carbon offsets that taking those actions has, or utilizing the methane and the biosolids and things that can be generated from the waste stream to create energy. There's so much cool stuff. I think there was a paper that just came out today, actually, about harvesting ammonium, a new tool to harvest ammonium, which is the predominant form of nitrogen in the waste stream, and then it be clean and raw enough to be able to use in the chemical sector to make fertilizers, or to create hydrogen fuel, or to do all sorts of different things. So there's so much great opportunity in all of those sectors that really touch down on public health, climate change, renewable fuels, renewable fertilizers. There's so many great opportunities out there. We just have to create the structures that make our world open to those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean it's extraordinary the number of we already are representing a good number of sectors in our collaborative group in the partners group. There's a lot more to be explored and discovered and also just engaged. We're really excited about bringing in new partners that can help us understand all the different pieces of this really complicated puzzle. Um, so as I mentioned at the beginning, we're fast approaching our 1 year anniversary. June 8th, World Oceans Day was when we launched last year. And we've been making a lot of new friends and we've been learning a lot. You know, as you say, a new paper came out just today where the science is rapidly expanding. Having worked in this space now for over the last decade, in your case, what do you think OSA is bringing to the table that's new to this solution space?
So I'll back this up just real quick. So in my interview process, one of the steering committee members said, having done a very similar question to that, how transferable is the work that you've done with all your partners on Long Island and the practices put into place to reduce nutrients to the rest of the world? And the answer was actually very little, maybe on the implementation side, but the pathway that we took to get here is fully transferable around the world. And I think that that's kind of the unique product that OSA has to deliver to the world, is to connect so many great partners who have so much to offer each other to other regions who might just be getting started on their path. Maybe they have documented their challenge, maybe they have documented some goals, but they haven't quite figured out what technologies and what policies and what financing mechanisms they want to create. I think that that is the unique field that the OSA can play, is to be able to house all of those resources and be able to point partners in the right direction when they get stuck somewhere, or to match partners up when they're in need of a resource. And I think that's truly the unique opportunity that we have, because we have such a, even in our early stages now with just 24 partners, we have a great diversity of skills and expertise.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that these partners are doing is filling in the gaps for each other, right? So there's right now that is really what is happening, where we're all appreciating what a complex space it is.
The question is, what makes you optimistic about the future of the OSA in addressing ocean pollution in general? Well, I think the strength here and the opportunity ahead is well, that people are finally becoming comfortable with acknowledging and beginning to discuss the challenge. And there's a wonderful way of, there's a wave, keep going with the puns here, of interest in marine protected areas and ocean conservation. And what we've realized, I think through Steph's research on her own and through my work and my team's work here on Long Island, is you can't really have protected areas if you don't reduce the threats that go into those protected areas. So there's a great interest in great opportunity ahead. I'm optimistic because the strength of our partnership is really great and diverse, and it's going to grow even more. And so I think that's exciting. And then also just as I was just saying, the interest in ocean conservation in general, and trying to protect 30% of the world's oceans by 2030, and then reducing the threats to the ocean would be a critical thing to do. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of dead protected areas, right? So it's a key component of protecting the world's oceans, and we have to latch on to that movement and make that happen.
Yeah, it's really truly, I've had over 2 decades in ocean conservation, and this undermines all of the work we've done if we don't get this right. And so while it feels like we're coming in late in the game on this particular threat, it's not too late. And yeah, it's sort of like the world is your oyster right now.
Well, the other great thing is, in some systems, change can be seen pretty quickly, right? So, if you have a region that has one massive ocean outfall and it's untreated, and you're able to get some funds to turn that into a reclamation facility that treats and reuses some of the resources, that discharge pipe that was previously untreated now is, you know, that embayment or that part of the ocean is now much cleaner than it was, and that's something that could happen quickly.
Yeah, I've definitely
And
seen this happen, right? We've
and
seen,
we've seen the response. I mean, Long Island Sound, right, not far from me, right? They reduced just through sewage treatment plant reductions alone, 62% of the nitrogen going into the system. And despite warming temperatures, they have smaller, hypoxic zones that last for shorter periods of time than any time in the past. And so that's just proof that if you do these sorts of things, the systems respond.
yeah, I mean, the potential, one of the things that I love about this threat, because I've worked on a lot of different ocean threats, is it's solvable and there are solutions. And it's just a matter of, some of these feel really daunting and it's hard to even get your head around how problems are going to get solved. But this one feels very solvable. And that's exciting, right?
Right.
You've
Yeah.
seen in your own work, which has got to be really satisfying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's satisfying, but then you're constantly looking, or what's the next hurdle I have to jump over? You never let your guard down.
Right. So we're talking about something that sometimes people, well, we have experiences with it because everybody, if they're fortunate enough, uses a toilet and understands that they are probably contributing to this threat in some way. If you didn't before, hopefully you will now. But what are some things that people can do? Obviously, they're not going to be involved in building new infrastructure. Maybe they don't have the ability to get involved at the scale at which we're trying to get involved. But what can you do at home? What are 3 things that someone can do from home to contribute to the solution?
Well, the number one, the very first thing that everyone can do is just stay more engaged, be more informed, uh, uh, either be an advocate yourself or be part of an advocacy group, right? And then, I think another great thing that could happen is there's the field of citizen science is getting more and more organized, and the structures uh, around them in the organizations that perform a lot of citizen science that can help support the call to action, and can help support the monitoring that can be utilized to either justify progress, is getting better. And so if there are organizations around, local organizations around, reach out to them and see if if this is something they're thinking about and how you could help. And then, there's certain practices, for those, like you said, those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to flush a toilet and either not think about it or lightly think about it. There's basic practices that you should just not do at home, right? The fats, oils, and greases down the drain are really bad. Put them in a jar, put them in the garbage. There's no such thing as a flushable wipe, right? The only things that go down the potty are, like Surf Rider. The only thing that go down the potty are, 1, 2, and TP, right? That's it, right? Maybe the occasional upchuck, right? If you have kids or a rough night.
Yeah, so it's definitely we haven't gone into all the crazy facts around wastewater pollution, and so folks might be thinking this is a problem that is happening somewhere else, but check out our website oceansewagealliance.org, and we have all kinds of shocking facts, and you'll find that this isn't an other world problem. This is a problem happening in rich developed countries. It's been happening in your case in Long Island. It's happened in all the places that I've lived. What I would say is get curious about what happens to your waste. Don't assume it's being properly treated. Don't assume it's being properly discharged. You'll find information on our website, and just by doing your own pretty quick homework, that we don't do a very good job. Our infrastructure is old. Engineering the engineering designs didn't plan for billions of people on the planet or tens of millions of people in a city. We can't handle what we produce. So, and yeah, and one more fun thing to do at home is to really look at your water use when it's raining, because in a lot of cases, stormwater and sewer water are flowing together during rain events, and they flow right into the environment because those wastewater treatment plants can't manage that much water. So if you don't take showers, do dishes, do laundry when it's raining, that reduces the flow of water into your community's wastewater treatment, if you're fortunate enough to have centralized sewer.
I know plenty of people who are not allowed to do that at high tide because it comes in the house. And talk about, first world problems, right? Did you ever think that would happen?
Do you, knowing what you know about how much pollution, wastewater pollution is in coastal areas and rivers, do you still go in the water? Do you play in the water?
Yeah, well, I'm a waterman, right? And I swim. We have a tiny little sailboat that I took, my entire son's life trying to restore. And yeah, I have two little kids, and I want them to appreciate the things that got me excited about conserving our resources. So we go fishing, we go clamming, we go sailing. Are there certain times a year where we don't eat the shellfish out of the places where we go digging? Yeah, most summer months we won't eat the shell. We might go clamming and pull up a bunch of clams and look at what's in our rakes and stuff, but we might not take them home.
Right.
There was a big red tide in the bay that we sail in last year, and I wouldn't let the kids jump off the boat.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we still get out there and try to enjoy these resources. But for me at this particular point in time, it's such a part of my life, surfing, swimming, fishing, that I can't stop. And I don't want my kids to think that it's okay to give up on the resources.
Yeah, that's right. So I noticed when you were talking about what you can do at home, you said number 1 and number 2 instead of saying poop and pee. And I want to challenge you on that a bit and ask you what you think the role of taboo plays in our work, and maybe even this threat in general.
Yeah, I think that the taboo thing is it's one of those things that from the time you're a child, you're basically told to not really talk about it, right? And then by the time you're an adult, you don't want to think about where it goes, what happens to it. Nobody wants to talk about poo, not even the politicians. The only people who really want to talk about poo are the guys who run the sewage treatment plants. And and they'll talk your ear off about it. And then you'll have a great time. But it's just one of those things where it's so last in the line of things to want to talk about that and then you think about, and middle school tells it all, right? You talk to a wastewater treatment person who tries to manage the flow at like an elementary or middle school or even high school, and it's all pee, because people don't poo at school. Because it's like, oh, if I walk out of the bathroom, I got toilet paper stuck to my foot, everyone's going to make fun of me the rest of the day. Or someone's going to come in and I'm going to be pooping and they make fun of me that I'm pooping the rest of the day. And so it's just this strange thing that it's always been taboo to talk about poo. And that's a hurdle for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend that when she went to college, she left her hall, went down to the bottom floor to poop because she was so afraid of her dorm where she lived. I did not know the thing about middle school toilets. That's really interesting. I think
schools in general are really difficult for wastewater treatment operators to manage.
That's really interesting to know.
It's such high strength.
Always learning. I, you know,
There you go.
I've learned a lot about taboo, and that, you know, taboo is very culture specific. So in the US, it's around like we don't speak about it. It's rude, it's impolite, and it's just unmentioned. There are other parts of the world where it's taboo to have a toilet in your house, or it's taboo to share a toilet with another person because that's considered dirty. Like the taboo around this is diverse in itself and complicated, and something that we have been learning as part of this collaborative and understanding all the issues that are around. This isn't as simple as putting a toilet into a community and assuming the problem is solved, right? Or a toilet and a treatment system and assuming the problem is solved. So but taboo, I feel like, I don't know if you would agree with this, plays a role in why we still have this problem, because people don't want to think about it. They don't
want to think about it.
Flush it and forget it. And let's pretend this isn't a problem. And
yeah,
it's invisible in large part because of that. So, all right. So I want to just end, see if you do have a potty joke. Do you have a favorite potty joke at this point, or a favorite poop joke?
All right. So I asked my kids for one, right? So I got to run and go pick them up. But I asked my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, for one, and she said, where does the old car go to poo? Oh, did I lose you? No. Where does an old car go to poo? At the dump. Where would an old car go to poo?
Okay.
At the dump.
At the dump.
You take it to the dump. Okay.
Well, that's
what do diapers and politicians have in common?
Go.
They all need to be changed, and often for the same reason.
Because they're all full of
stinky and full of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
We love our politics. So here, let me just show you real quick. This is what treating your wastewater looks like, right? Is that scary?
Are those
right?
chemicals?
So this is my wastewater treatment system for my own home.
Okay.
Right, and this reduces, and my drain field is here. Nothing scary here, but a bunch of dandelion.
Right.
And this is reduces my nitrogen load by 90%.
That's incredible. That's pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any noise. Doesn't make any sound.
That's
doing my own, talking my talk here.
There you go.
Or walking my talk.
I should point out that on our socials we do Tuesday potty jokes. I think it's Toilet Jokes Tuesday or something along those lines.
Toilet Tuesdays.
Or at toilet. So we're always posting something, so you can check out. We just started this, but I think approaching this with a bit of humor helps us deal with the seriousness of what we're facing. But I just want to thank you for joining us for our first edition of what I think we should call Potty Talk or something.
Yeah, talking shit.
And
can you say that on Instagram?
Yeah, we can, I think. Oh, we might get bleeped. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out. For anybody watching, check out our website. We've got all kinds of fun, engaging information about this work, and we're always looking for new partners.
Exciting times ahead.
Yeah. So thank you. And go get your kids and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
Soon.
Thank you. See you all.